This is the brand new COROS Pace Pro, and I got early access to test it out here in New York City, and honestly, I was surprised with what I learned. The price of this guy is $349. I got to check it out. It comes with this band as well as a more nylon band too. It's got a beautiful new AMOLED screen, so it's brighter and more colorful. The battery lasts 20 plus days with always on display off, and it has 31 hours of dual frequency GPS. Because if you live in New York City, you know that you need dual frequency or else your data will be totally off. And we'll discuss more of the GPS and the heart rate accuracy later in this video. First, let's talk about the hardware and design. It comes with this strap right here. It's got kind of like a double loop system. I love that it's got these holes because that allows for breathability, especially if you're working out, exercising, and your arms get sweaty. I think it's so important to have holes in the strap, which I do appreciate. It's flexible. It looks like the COROS Pace 3, very similar. It is slightly bigger in terms of size. It obviously has a newer updated screen and a much faster processor. It has a heart rate monitor on the back and the same charging port as all other COROS watches. One thing I forgot to mention is the charging. It comes with a keychain clip with a USB-C port, so I can just carry this with me, plug it in, use any USB-C cable, and keep my COROS watch charged. This is amazing for travel. And it is extremely light. I don't think you understand how light these COROS Pace watches are. That's one thing I absolutely love about them. And not only that, the screen gets up to 1500 nits, so you can see it in bright daylight. I've had no issues testing it out so far. It's got this digital crown button that allows you to scroll through the menu. I can also swipe. It's got a touchscreen, and it has the back button right here too. Wow, it's just so, look how juicy it is. It's very nice. It's a small watch. I think one important thing, especially with lighter and smaller watches, is you're more likely to get better heart rate accuracy because the lighter and the smaller the watch, the less likely it is to bounce around your wrist and the less trouble it's going to have using algorithms to figure out what your heart rate is, because right now it's sending light into your skin. The light bounces back and those algorithms are trying to figure out what your heart rate is, and when it's moving around a lot more, those algorithms get confused a little bit. But we'll dive deeper into the heart rate versus a chest strap soon enough. Now, if you know the COROS Pace 3, that's $229, and this is $349, but this adds a ton more stuff. So it's 2 times faster in terms of the processor performance. It's a 26% size increase than the Pace 3, more storage, 31 hours of dual frequency battery life, bigger battery, and 20 days of battery without always on display on. It has a new sensor that supports ECG and offline global mapping. Okay, great. They have a ton of claims. It sounds cooler, it looks cleaner, it's light, it's awesome. But how does it fare up against the Garmin Fenix 8, against the Apple Watch Ultra 2? Let's compare the GPS tracks. I wore this for multiple days here in New York City. We're the COROS Pace Pro. Start. All 3 watches, let's do this. 15. And I want to see how well is it able to hold up with these big dogs, with these very, very expensive watches, because this is like half the price of the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and even less for the Garmin Fenix 8. Now, I did 4 runs with it. We'll compare the GPS tracks of all these 4 runs. I ran here in Manhattan, New York City, and for the most part, if you look at it, the data was spot on. I was surprised to see that the Pace Pro and the Garmin Fenix 8 were almost 0.01 off in terms of total distance when it came to tracking all of these runs. Even as we look at the overall data, there are almost no discrepancies. There were some points. So here, I ran around the pier, and it seems like all 3 watches struggled a little bit. The COROS seemed to jump off from the other 2 a little bit more. But other than that, they were 1 and 1. Run number 2, I did in Central Park. One of the hardest aspects is when I run through the city with these tall buildings.
Enter the scaffolding, so we'll see how the GPS holds up.
And for the most part, all 3 watches were very close, neck and neck. Once we got into Central Park, none of the watches seemed to have any issues. They're perfectly on top of each other, going around the reservoir. There are trees, but I think the biggest challenge is the tall buildings when you're running in the side Manhattan. But for the most part, very good. Run number 3, pretty much the same thing. I did try to run in the city a little bit more, and you can see there was some changes here, but for the most part, none of them fell off. They're all in the same track. And lastly, run number 4, as you can see, West Side Highway, they're perfectly on top of each other. There is one spot where we go underground into a tunnel, and that's where all 3 watches got confused. And then at some point, the COROS crossed the street, so that was one discrepancy that might have been missed. But overall, all the watches were in line with each other for the entire thing, and the COROS gave almost the same exact distance as the Garmin Fenix 8. We can even look, I synced everything to Apple Health here. The COROS got 5.83, Garmin 5.83, and the Apple Watch Ultra 2 5.84, 0.07, 8.06, 8.03. So the Garmin and COROS were neck and neck on most of my runs. One more, COROS 6.64, Garmin 6.62, and Apple 6.59. And this one, COROS 4 miles, Apple Watch 3.99. So from a GPS perspective, this is amazing and astonishing. I know the Pace 3 had a little bit of issues when I compared it to these higher end watches, but the Pace Pro, perfect. I think I'm going to run the New York City Marathon with this watch. If you want to see that video, make sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you can see that it's coming out next week, baby. One advantage the Pace Pro has, because it's so light and small, there's a higher likelihood that the heart rate accuracy is going to be good. Right now, I'm currently rocking the titanium Milanese loop on my Apple Watch Ultra, and because this might not be the tightest band, at least I don't get it as tight as I should be, some of the heart rate data is a little bit off, and we're going to see that in these charts right here. So this is my first run. The red is the COROS, and the blue is the Apple Watch Ultra 2, and black is the Garmin Fenix 8 with a chest strap. So I had the chest strap connected to my Garmin Fenix 8. There is one point right here where it looks like the COROS Pace 3 jumped off the track of the other two, but for the most part, the heart rates were neck and neck. Run number 2, there were some discrepancies with the Apple Watch. As we can see here, that jumped off the chest strap a little bit, but the COROS Pace Pro held on. Over here, we had the COROS and the Apple Watch Ultra 2 jump off the chest strap just a little bit, minor movement right here. This run had more peaks and valleys. The Apple Watch Ultra was a bit delayed here, so it looks like the Apple Watch Ultra struggled a bit more than the Pace Pro. Even at the end, you can see how the Pace Pro and the heart rate strap held on, but the Apple Watch Ultra has started to fall off a little bit. I think that's mainly because of the band. If I was wearing a tighter and better band on the Apple Watch Ultra 2, it would perform much, much better. Third run, pretty much neck and neck. There was one point here where the Apple Watch Ultra fell off, and then it was near the end where things got a bit muddy. It looks like the Ultra 2 fell off a little bit, and the COROS Pace Pro started to fall off around here. There was a lot of changes in heart rate, dropping up, down, up, down. The Ultra 2 fell off much more than the Pace Pro, but for some reason at the end of this run, both of them struggled just a tad bit, but for the most part, they were pretty close. The Ultra 2, I think, much worse than the Pace Pro in this test experiment. And then the final run, try to keep a more stable heart rate here. I think at the beginning of the run, that's where most heart rate monitors need some time to warm up, but they kind of matched up together. And then for the rest of the run, they were neck and neck. There was maybe one dip right here with the Pace Pro. Not sure what happened there for a small segment. The Apple Watch Ultra peaked over here for no reason. You know, these are very small changes. I would argue heart rates are pretty strong on all of them. Maybe near the end right here, the Pace Pro fell below the heart rate strap a little bit. But for the most part, the heart rate tracks are very strong on all three watches. I would argue that it's good enough where you don't need to wear a chest strap, but if you're doing very specific heart rate based training and you want that exact number, then sure, you can add on the chest strap. And you can see the power metrics here, heart rate, cadence from all three watches, the speed from all three watches, and their overall distance just neck and neck. The elevation metrics from the Ultra 2 and the COROS Pace Pro, and the mean max power. Thank you, DC Rainmaker. I'm using his software to compare all this data. Now, what about sleep tracking? So you can wear this watch to bed. You can track your sleep. I think that's something that people find valuable. I think it's important to measure the total time that you slept. So I'm going to compare it to the Apple Watch Ultra 2. Whoa! All right, guys. I know you want to hang out and connect with each other, but that's not going to happen today. We were 1 minute off. COROS Pace Pro, 6 hours, 56 minutes. Apple Watch Ultra 2, 6 hours and 55 minutes. Total time. If you look at even the sleep tracks, they're pretty close. I don't think it's important to look at the sleep stages, but total sleep time is the most important in my belief system. And then maybe looking at resting heart rate, which they were very close, as well as potentially some HRV data. There are some new features that COROS provides, which is like training load, which you also see on the Apple Watch training load here. So those are great if you want to test that over a period of time. Those are just extra nice features, but I think the GPS and the heart rate are some of the most important things that need to be done right for the watch to even be worth wearing. Then there's some nice to haves like integration with Strava, Training Peaks, and all that comes with the COROS app and pretty much any COROS device that you buy. But for the price and the size, the COROS Pace Pro here is $350, whereas the Garmin Fenix 8 here is $1,100. Look at how the screens, they're both AMOLED screens, they're colorful, they're beautiful. But this watch, you could buy 3 Pace Pros and still be cheaper than one Garmin Fenix 8. So when it comes to is this worth it, I honestly think this is a great watch. I'm going to start recommending this to more people. You're going to get accurate GPS data, good heart rate data. They'll keep adding new firmware updates, and for the price, this watch is amazing. I know for some folks who care about the looks, there are different colors, so go check those out. COROS, thank you for sending this for me. I'm going to wear all these watches when I run the New York City Marathon next week. So subscribe, turn on notifications, follow me on Strava, Instagram, all the socials at Shervin Shares. We'll see you in the next video. Peace!